This is the first time in a minute that I think I'm genuinely excited to do a JJK Phantom Parade news video, because this is a video I want to do. It is a prediction video. I'm not covering drama, right? I am covering the game, and that feels absolutely amazing. The one bad part about this is I am predicting which banners are coming next, and I know that's probably not what anyone wants to hear, but they're gonna come, right? So I want to inform you guys on which banners are coming next and which banners you want to save for, which characters are the best, which recollections are the best, and whether or not you should actually be summoning on any of these banners if you have any cubes left over at all. So what we're looking at right here is a data download from Hydros, or a data mine, and all of this is coming to the game. It's already in the game files. It's just a matter of when does it come to the game for the global side of the game. So we had new character assets added. We had Gojo, we had Panda, we had Miwa, we had Nanami, we had Saki, we had Getzo, and we had Toji. Now, I will say, it has already been confirmed, unless they change their minds or switch up on us, like they definitely could do, which would be a big L, and if they're going to lose even more players, but they better not. They better not. Long story short, they better not. They better not release Getzo, Toji, or Gojo. They said they wouldn't release them this month, so they better not release them this month. So that leaves us with the question of, who else are they going to release in December? Because you know they aren't just going to release 5 banners at the beginning of December and then just stop, right? They're not doing that. They're going to release other banners throughout the month. At least 1 to 2 more banners minimum would be my guess. So which of these 4 characters is most likely to be released next? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Additionally, we had all these recollection bit images released. Now, one thing I can say about these recollection bit images is that we are missing images for the Miwa banner. We don't actually have her recollections in the game, or her assets in the game yet. So, I mean, that leads to a good chance that Miwa probably isn't going to be one of the new characters coming out this month. That would be my guess. I could be completely wrong. They could add them in pretty easily, but as of right now, it's looking like she is probably not going to be the one. So that narrows it down to 3 already, but we'll still talk about Miwa and her banner and why you may or may not want to summon on her, of course. And then as we go down a little bit further, we have some login bonuses, right? They already have these images in the game. These are untranslated, so keep that in mind. So we're probably not, once again, getting hidden inventory or Toji or those characters, hopefully anytime soon. But what I will say is we do have a login bonus for the Miwa event, which is interesting. We also have a login bonus for the Saki event. 2 banners which I think personally are least likely to come, but they have them in there already, so it's kind of weird. They aren't necessarily following the JP order, but I'm going to be looking at the JP timeline for what I'm guessing is going to be coming next. We also have new battle event logos for versus battles. These are going to be hard battles that are coming out. Most likely, these are the battles right here. Most likely the order they're going to release in is we're going to get Nanami first, because that's how it was on JP. As for following the same JP timeline, obviously we're not going to follow the exact timeline, but it should be her first, then we get Jogo, then this guy. I believe that's the order it released in, if I remember right, looking at the timeline. So Nanami should be coming up, I imagine, honestly, my guess would be around Christmas time. I could be wrong, it could be January, but I'm thinking she might come out before the new year. That would be my guess, but we'll have to wait and see. Then we have icons for stories chapter 12 through 14 added. Now, we'll have more to talk about with that later, but yeah, story is going to be updated eventually too. And then we have accessory chapter assets and illusory tower, all the stuff that you guys just saw. So this adds more credibility, right, to the fact that all of this is true. I really absolutely trust Hydros. Actually, he's one of the best data miners out there. And then we have new trophy assets, so new titles added. This will be event titles as well as hidden titles that you guys will be able to earn as well. I'll talk more about those hidden titles when and if they do come out in the game, but as of right now, they are not out yet. So we're going to hop in here, and we're just going to start by looking at some of these characters here at the beginning, and we're going to go through the JP timeline in a way and kind of use it as our reference. Okay, so the first character on the timeline before even the half anniversary characters, which are Toji, Gojo, and Getzo, was Panda, and Panda's both of his recollections were in that data mine, so that leads me to believe that there's a high chance we see Panda this month. I don't think he will be the Christmas release. I think he will probably be like right before Christmas, or you know, really close to Christmas, but I think another character will be the Christmas release. I think we see this character potentially next as one of our next characters, right? It makes a lot of sense to me. Also, we would be getting potentially map event Great Sorcerer Dead Maul Edition 2 with Panda, so that would make a lot of sense to me. So if we go in and take a look at Panda, let's see what he can do. So he revives when defeated 1 time during battle. That's pretty cool. A lot of people are going to love that, right? His skill 1 is Panda Uppercut. Deals 120% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy, decreases the selected enemy's damage by 15.3%. That's a nice little debuff to add on to them for a skill 1. That's not bad. At level 10, there's your percentages. Skill 2, I'll take it. Decreases own damage received by 10.5% for 2 turns. Attracts the selected enemy's attack to self for 2 turns. That's a little bit better than the other Panda for drawing aggro, and then decreases the selected enemy's critical hit resist by 30% for 2 turns as well. A nice little debuff on the enemy that's going to help out characters that have crits. That's actually pretty nice. And at level 10, decreases damage received by 15%. And then skill 3, Kalpa's Time, if I'm saying that correctly, increases own taijutsu damage by 10.5% for 3 turns, recovers own HP by 5%. The higher own Kalpa's count is, the greater the HP recovery. Up to 53% HP recovery, removes all Kalpa's count. It's an interesting effect, right? It's different for him. It's weird that he has like a healing like Inumaki. It's cool. And then his ultimate is Secret of the Gorilla. Deals 605% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy for 10 hits, which is crazy. That's per hit, 605%. He can hit very big damage. At level 10, it goes up to 902%. That's almost 1,000% damage for 10 hits. That's crazy, man. And then increases damage dealt depending on how many attacks have been received, up to 64%. So his ult is like an absolute freaking nuke. And then deals 150% melee taijutsu damage to all enemies. Increases damage dealt depending on how many attacks have been received, up to 64%, recovers own HP by 15%, and resets the count of attacks received. That's so cool. Like, attack to all enemies, really big damage to one enemy, multi-hit attack. The ultimate is truly like one of the best parts of his kit. He's a very, very good character. He also has auto skills. He has the core switch at the start of the battle, grants revival status to self, which is really nice for a character to have. And then Kalpa's count at the start of each turn increases own Kalpa's count by 1 for 4 turns, up to 4 Kalpa's count, and that's how the skill 3 works. So a very interesting character, very decent overall. Where does he place on the tier list? Well, let me show you. Panda is a fairly decent character being placed into A+ tier for the JP tier list. I do trust this tier list. I think it's the best tier list there is. Realistically, I've said this many times. I know some people disagree in the comments, but like, the JP players have been playing the game for much longer than most of us, so I think they know. I think they know who's good. So Panda, A+ tier. This only goes down to B tier, so he's kind of middle of the tier list. He's not bad, right? He's okay. He's on the same tier as like Junpei here. He's same tier as Jogo. A little bit below Nobara to give you a reference. A lot of people have Nobara right now on global. Technically, he's below Nobara, but he's still okay. He's an interesting character. I think having that revive in and of itself can actually be useful in Tower and be kind of interesting and good. Now, as for the recollections that are on Panda's banner, we have Liar, I Hate You. And when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, grants taunt status to self for 1 turn, decreases own damage received by 20%. It's okay. I think what makes this really good though is the 3-turn cooldown, meaning you can taunt every 4 turns, which is potentially good because if you remember, a lot of enemies have ultimates on turn 4. So if you're able to draw their aggro to like Gojo on turn 4, that could be really useful. Now the thing is, a lot of enemies' ultimates are AoEs, so it's kind of useless at the same time. And then the limit break skill 1, at the start of the turn, if own HP is 80% or below, recovers own HP by 13% every turn for 3 turns. Continuous healing though, that's kind of good. I wish the percentage was a little bit higher for the continuous healing, but honestly, it's not a bad overall recollection. It'd be better if it helped multiple allies, so I would say it's okay. It's not super crazy. The other recollection that is on Panda's banner is called Cool Glasses, and this one, when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, recovers own HP by 10%. It is a 6-turn cooldown. That's not the craziest effect. And then limit break level 1, if own HP is 60% or below, decreases own damage received by 15% for 3 turns. I don't think it's the greatest skill, recollection or skills on this recollection. I don't necessarily recommend using it. It's okay, but those are all things that are coming out alongside Panda, of course. So that is Panda, and a banner that could potentially be coming next, but I think it's actually very likely that this banner's next. I don't think it's going to be the Christmas banner. I think it's going to be a banner they squeeze in, would be my opinion. But we also have to keep in mind that when talking about these banners, we are skipping other characters as well, like Itadori, and we also are skipping Mahito, as much as I hate to say it, who's a free-to-play character, right? Because we didn't have any assets or any images for these gachas or banners or anything like that. So we're also skipping this Toto banner. Like, we would be skipping a lot of stuff. I mean, eventually it'll come out, but to bring those characters out, they are skipping quite a few things. We're skipping Mekamaru, right? So just keep that in mind. I don't know. Any of those characters could potentially come. As of right now, though, Mekamaru, Mahito, Itadori, Toto, all those characters, not right now in the data mine file. So most likely Panda is going to be the next character. That would be my guess, but we will have to see how that one ends up working out. After Panda, we have Nanami. This Nanami is insanely good. I love him. I have him on JP. I've used him a lot. He is crazy good, and this is probably going to be the Christmas character, I imagine. If it's not going to be hidden inventory, it's got to be Nanami, because Nanami is a very popular character. And it makes sense. He is going to sell, and he is going to be the character that people will pull on. So, what can Nanami do? The new yellow Nanami. Very insane. When Black Flash is performed, increases own Black Flash rate. When the selected enemy has a weakness to yellow type, increases own damage as well. That's really good, right? So skill 1, Cursed Energy Punch, deals melee combined damage equal to 50% Taijutsu and 50% Jujutsu to the selected enemy. At level 10, it does go up. Skill 2, Let's Get This Over With, deals melee combined damage equal to 117.4% Taijutsu and 117.4% Jujutsu to the selected enemy for 2 hits. Now, the really cool thing about Nanami is he has both types of damage, right? That's really unique to him. And then skill 3, Ratio Technique, deals melee combined damage equal to 139.6% Taijutsu and 139.6% Jujutsu to the selected enemy with type advantage, and then decreases the selected enemy's critical hit resist by 10.5% and increases the enemy's damage received by 15.3%. This skill with Nanami is what makes him so good. This is a very good skill to run on him. If you're using this before another attacker who's going to attack, it's going to increase the amount of damage that attacker does by so much. It's really solid. And then his ultimate, I'll exercise you here and now, deals melee combined damage equal to 124.5% Taijutsu and 124.5% Jujutsu to the selected enemy for 3 hits. Deals melee combined damage equal to 170.6% Taijutsu and 170.6% Jujutsu to the selected enemy with advantage. Does not change the skill's type. The final hit of this ultimate will always perform a Black Flash, and let me tell you, that allows him to hit really hard. It's a very good skill. Now, auto skills, I've tried to combine auto and time, auto times. Auto skills, overtime work at the start of the battle, recovers own cursed energy by 30, recovers own cursed energy by 5 every turn, fills own ultimate skill gauge by 220, increases own jujutsu damage by 30%, and then when attacking an enemy with a type advantage attack 1 time per turn, fills own ultimate skill gauge by 110. So if you were running this Nanami in a setting where he is type advantaged, he is just absolutely freaking broken and very good. Now, why do I think this character will be coming sooner than the other characters that we have looked at? I am going to say Illusory Tower. Now that you've made it past up to 425, right? I imagine if you got Hollow Purple Gojo, you can probably make it up to 425 fairly easily. At 425 onwards, you need a good yellow type character, and Megumi is that. But he's hard to use on his own. A lot of people are using Megumi Nobara. It works to a degree, but it's still hard. When you get Nanami, it's going to be Megumi Nanami, potentially Nobara then too, and then you're able to pop off. So this guy makes a lot of sense to be coming next for people to be able to take on Illusory Tower, because without him, it's going to be very hard for people to climb an Illusory Tower. They can't release this content in the game and then give you no way to beat it. Right now, there is a way to get like through a lot of the floors, but eventually you're going to hit a wall. And I think this character is going to be one of the next releases. I think he is very likely to be the Christmas release because he is a hype character and he is needed for Illusory Tower. That is my opinion. Additionally, we are getting this recollection and another recollection. So this one is called Reunited After the Rain. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, increases all allies damage dealt by 20% for 3 turns, effective for yellow type attacks. That's really good, right? It works well on Nanami, it works well on a yellow team. And then when critical hit or black flash is performed, increases own critical hit rate by an additional 30% for 2 turns, and increases own critical hit damage by 25%. Obviously, specifically designed for Nanami. We also have Investigation in the Rain. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, increases own critical hit rate by 15% for 3 turns, 6 turn cooldown, and then limit break level 1. At the start of the battle, fills own ultimate skill gauge by 220. You could almost give, with the right recollections, this Nanami and ultimate like turn 1. It would be absolutely insane to be able to do that. But yeah, he's a very interesting character, very decent character. Where does he rank on the tier list? Well, let me show you. Yellow Nanami is right here in S+ tier, the second tier down, right next to Mahito, right next to Megumi. Very, very good character. He's SR Nanami is also here, but they're here for different reasons. He's a really good, well, actually, he does decent debuffs as well, but yeah, they're here for different reasons, okay? Because he's a very good attack character in general. Next up, we have Miwa. Miwa actually doesn't come out until after the hidden inventory characters, right? So if we go back to where hidden inventory was, right there's Toji. He's the end of the hidden inventory. Hidden inventory was in the month before. And I think it's pretty unlikely, my opinion, that Miwa comes before hidden inventory. I think hidden inventory comes in January. That would be my guess. Like, this is all predictions, but I think the timeline so far is Panda comes next, then we get Nanami for Christmas, like New Year's-ish. Maybe we get hidden inventory would be my guess. And then sometime in January, we get Miwa after that. I think that's how they're going to do it. I could be wrong, but you know, they did say they were going to hold off on hidden inventory until next year, but like, I don't think they release them in the middle of the month. They release them on a hype date like New Year's, right? That's probably what they do. So then Miwa comes after that. Remember, we do not have her assets here for the recollections from Hydros, so because her assets are not there, I think it's very likely that she is not one of the next characters coming this month, but we'll still talk about, you know, what she can do, what these recollections can do, and then where she is placed on the tier list. So Miwa's art, absolutely insane. I love the art. I think a lot of people are going to love the way the character looks. As for the kit, it leaves a little bit to be desired. Okay, so her skill 1 is called Nukitsuke, if I'm saying that correctly. If sword sheath count is 1 or above, increases own damage by 5.7% one time. The higher the sword sheath count, the greater the damage boost, up to 100%. Deals melee combined damage equal to 80.7% taijutsu and 30.7% jujutsu to the selected enemy. If sword sheath count is 5 or above, increases own critical hit rate by 35% for 3 turns, cannot be stacked, decreases sword sheath count by 1. At level 10, your percentages do go up a little bit. Her skill 2, I Won't Give In, grants counter status to self for 2 turns 3 times. That's pretty decent. Evades enemy attack for 1 turn, chance of 36.5%, increases own sword sheath count by 1 up to 15, attracts the enemy's attack to self for 1 turn 1 time. Man, there's so much going on in her kit, right? It's ridiculous. The counter status when targeted by a single target melee attack from an enemy, sword sheath count is 1 or above, increases own damage by 20% for 1 time. This is what makes her not so good. The counter only does melee attacks. If it did jujutsu as well, it'd be better. Deals 100% of melee combined damage equal to 100% taijutsu and 30% jujutsu as counter damage. Increases own taijutsu damage by 10%. 3 turns, cannot be stacked. Fills own ultimate skill gauge by 110 and decreases sword sheath count by 1. Filling own ultimate skill gauge is good, but holy crap, that skill. Do you think they put enough in there? And then skill 3 is just like empty. So sword sheath increases own taijutsu damage by 20% for 3 turns, increases own sword sheath count by 3 up to 15. At level 10, it goes up even more, but basically self buffer for 3 turns and able to increase her sword sheath count to allow you to do more with your other skills, which is okay. And then her ultimate is called Flash. If sword sheath count is 1 or above, increases own damage by 20.1% one time. The higher own sword sheath count is, the greater the damage boost, up to 100%. Deals melee combined damage equal to 548.6% taijutsu and 220.3% jujutsu to the selected enemy. Increases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage received by 14.1% for 3 turns. If sword sheath count is 7 or above, reduces own taijutsu damage received by 15% for 3 turns. Decreases sword sheath count by 7. Oh, that's a mouthful. So the biggest problem with her, right, the thing that makes her not good is the sword sheath. Like, as much as the whole kit relies on the sword sheath and you think it would be cool, you can't get the full effect of her skills without having it stacked up, and it takes time to stack it up, which is really annoying. Whereas other characters, you'll get their full effect of their skills without having to do this stupid stacking thing, right? That's part of what makes her rough to use. Why is the auto skill even logged? Jeez. Okay, so sword sharpening. When critical hit is performed, increases own sword sheath count by 2 up to 15. At the start of each turn, if counter status is applied to self, increases sword sheath count by 1 up to 15. At the start of each turn, and depending on sword sheath count, apply the following effect. Sword sheath count is 1 to 3, decreases own taijutsu damage received by 15% for 1 turn. Sword sheath count is 4 to 6, increases own break damage by 50%. Sword sheath count is 7 or above, increases own critical hit damage by 50%. So this kind of saves your kit, makes it a lot better, but man, who wants to keep track of their sword sheath counts and what's going on? And you can't see the auto skills in game. It makes it hard to use her and keep track of what effect you're actually getting. Like, so while it's a really cool thing, it's kind of hard to keep track of in game, which is kind of rough. So I feel like she's a decent character. She's okay. The sword she stacks just kind of ruined the kit though, because it makes it hard to keep track of. A, B, you can't use the full extent of her kit right away. Like from turn 1, you're gonna have to wait a couple of turns to actually build her up. And by that point, if you're taking on like illusory tower, you're dead, because you need to start getting damage in like turn 1 and harder content in the game. So for that reason, Miwa on the tier list is all the way down at the bottom of the tier list. She is one of the least valued characters by JP players. So while she may look really cool, she's really not that great of a character, not that great of a pull. Personally though, would think the art is amazing, and I would just pull for the art alone. Now, as for the recollections on her banner, the first one is called Ignoring Orders, and when command skill or ultimate skill is activated, it increases own damage by 65% for 2 turns, effective for blue type attacks. If ultimate skill gauge is full when activating, grants a sure hit status to self for 1 turn 1 time, which is interesting. And then limit break level 1, when character is in counter status and the skill ends, increases own critical hit rate by 20% for 2 turns 1 time. So it's ultimately like it fills the gaps on her abilities and is supposed to make her a little bit better. And then this recollection are priorities. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, increases all allies damage by 10% for 1 turn, effective for blue type of attacks. And then limit break level 1, at the start of battle, increases all allies damage by 10%, effective if the enemy has a weakness to blue type attacks. So this is actually a really good support recollection for blue type allies. 20% increased damage here if you upgrade it, 10% here. That's a 30% increase in damage for all allies that are going to have blue type attacks. It's pretty good for that type of team. If you're going to run like a mono blue team and you want to have some extra damage, this is a fairly okay recollection. I actually really think this one's pretty decent. And then last but not least, we have the Saki Rindo banner. She was the 4th character that could potentially come out, and I think she comes out even after Miwa. I think she comes out towards the end of January, beginning of February. Why do I say that? When do we see this character? Well, she also comes out alongside chapters 13 and 14. As you guys know, we are nowhere near chapters 13 and 14 yet, so we got a few chapters to get through before we get to that, and there's no way they release this character before her chapters are out. Like 100% they are going to wait until those chapters come out to release her. So we'll talk about what she can do. Saki Rindo, the first SSR version, is at the start of the battle, or I can't speak. At the start of each turn, if own HP is 35% or below, increases own taijutsu damage by 180% and jujutsu damage by 180%. Her skill 1 is called I Will Blow You Away, deals melee combined damage equal to 75% taijutsu and 70% jujutsu to the selected enemy. Her skill 2, Don't Get Carried Away, deals melee combined damage equal to 140% taijutsu, 110% jujutsu to the selected enemy, increases own taijutsu damage by 10% for 3 turns. If own HP is 35% or above, sacrifices 10% HP. Her skill 3, Disaster Transferal, deals melee combined damage equal to 110% taijutsu and 95% jujutsu to all enemies. The lower the HP, the greater the damage, up to 40%. Fills own ultimate skill gauge by 250. That's really good right there. That's like the rest of her kit looks subpar compared to that. And then ultimate is Fist of Resolve, deals melee combined damage equal to 320% taijutsu and 290% jujutsu to all enemies. Her auto skills, a very long one again. Able-bodied, at the start of battle, grants revival status to self. That's really good. And then at the start of each turn, and if own HP is 60% or below, decreases damage received by 10% for 1 turn. The lower the HP, the greater the damage received, decrease up to 40%. At the start of each turn, and if own HP is 35% or below, decreases own damage received by an additional 50%. So that's really good tanking. And then when character triggers the revival status, grants attack nullification to self the first turn back as well. So a very, very solid character, a very solid attacker who's also a tank. It's really strange, right? But like, I think she's a very decent character. Her kit leaves a little bit to be desired on skills 1 and 2, but skills 3, her ultimate and her auto skills, all very good. So it makes sense that they made those first 2 skills kind of bad because the rest balances out. As for where she is on the tier list, she is still relatively towards the bottom. And I think that's just because her skills are so subpar, in my opinion, but she is higher than Miwa. She's an okay character. Any character, even like the bottom of the tier list characters, can be useful given the right circumstance, right? So you guys just need to keep that in mind. Even though they're at the bottom of the tier list, they're not unusable. That it is a PvE game. Now, if you're talking PvP, it might be a little bit different, but I don't think we see PvP coming to the game anytime soon. Now, as for the recollection that comes out alongside Saki, we have Your Path Forward, which is a very long one. When command skill or ultimate skill is activated, it increases own damage dealt by 75%. That's pretty solid. Effective for green type attacks. If own HP is 35% or below when attacking, increases own taijutsu damage by 20% and jujutsu damage by 20%. So that's a pretty big damage boost, depending on, though, having 35% or less HP. At Limit Break level 1, at the start of the turn, if own HP is 35% or below, increases own ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 40%. 40% skill gauge charge rate is pretty good. However, I don't like this thing where it has to be below 35% to get that. It's okay. It's really only going to be a super great recollection, though, in my opinion, on Saki herself. So I don't think it's going to be like a must-pull recollection whenever we get to this point. And that is pretty much it for the video, guys. So just to recap really quickly, Panda probably coming next, then Nanami, then we get the hidden inventory characters. We get Gojo, we get Geto, we get Toji, and then after that we probably get Miwa and Saki would be my guess. We could throw in some other characters between now and then, but these are the characters we have assets for in game right now. So this is pretty much what you can expect for the future of Jujutsu Kaisen Phantom Parade. Once again, I have to end off the video by saying this is a prediction. Nothing is 100% set in stone, but it's very, very likely that this is somehow or in some way the way the banners end up releasing and the way it ends up going. And honestly, if you're asking me, should you be summoning on any of these other banners besides the hidden inventory characters? Probably not. If anyone, maybe Nanami, because Nanami's a decent character. I think he could be really helpful to you in Illusory Tower. But outside of Nanami, everyone else you should probably be skipping on. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.